So CM Punk returns and wins his match against Chris Jericho. And I'll admit I got that one wrong. I figured that Jericho would win. But and I also thought that there wasn't going to be a full babyface turn, but he came out already a babyface. I mean,
Yep. Well,
that
Chicago
was
does that to him.
That was kind of surprising to me.
I believe me and Braden are entitled to a nanny boo boo. Yeah. So
yeah, I about this huge on the pre-show that we did before the pay-per-view that he's going to come out to an enormous face reaction. Jericho's going to be booed. He's going to win his hometown. It's not that I didn't think he'd be basically full-on babyface if his whole heel run didn't happen, but apparently they're going that route. So it'll be interesting to see where they take him with his new feud that happened after this.
He's got kind of an attitude still. He's not like vanilla white meat babyface Cena, but then he never was that.
No, not even in his initial face run. He's face Punk, which is not face Cena nor face Sheamus. So,
he retains some of the things that make him CM Punk.
Yeah, he's an enjoyable babyface because he's not completely watered down and sprouts off the corny jokes and all that jazz. That's why he works as a babyface, and I think it's cool. But I mean, really, the transition was just Chicago turned him again. Basically, he got a huge reaction. He wrestled like a babyface too.
To be fair,
Peyton, you have Jericho in here. What do you think the whole point of having Jericho face Punk was? Just to have a good match, or do you think that, because it doesn't really seem like from this episode at all.
I don't think there was any point to it. I think it was a completely botched situation. I think they could have done so much of what they were doing on this night, and they completely messed it up.
So you agree with me that this was a letdown? Because a lot of people are saying this is like the best match of the night. I actually was not impressed.
Punk should not have been there that night. If he was, it should have just been a show up. He shouldn't have been in the match. If he was in the match, he should have lost. And it would have been this whole thing of, Punk was away. He couldn't win all these big matches against The Rock and The Undertaker. And now when he's back, he couldn't even beat Jericho, who he had beaten 3 times before, or maybe only 2 times before, whatever it was. 3 times, right? I don't know. But he couldn't even do that, so he has to redeem himself coming up from that. And they can make a much bigger thing of it. Now it's just like, he just got a non-important win over Jericho. Oh, now Brock Lesnar attacks him. And it's not a big deal, and he has sideburns. And as far as the match itself, worst match they've had. It was boring as hell. Punk I'm not going to say he was out of shape, but he certainly was. He was not ring ready. I mean, he was breathing heavy like The Rock. And the match was a lot of finishers. Well, it's not really something you could disagree about. You look at him and he was breathing heavy. It's fact. It's not opinion. Mm-hmm. But the match was a lot of finishers and kicking out of them. It was a boring matchup.
Yeah, I very much enjoyed the match.
Because I totally agreed with that. And I've been hearing a lot of people that are just like, everybody that I know loved it and all that. And
they're all punk marks. They're gonna love anything the guy does. The guy can come out there, lay a shit in the middle of the ring, and walk to the back, and they're like, "Oh my god, he's so groundbreaking."
I do agree that they brought him back way too soon. I still think that they could have easily let him go till at least SummerSlam. But I knew that if they were actually going to have him in the building wrestling, he had to have won. In that Chicago crowd, there's no way you can have him lose. That crowd would have destroyed that pay-per-view in terms
there was
of...
if Punk doesn't win, we riot sign. They were chanting for him for 2 hours before the pay-per-view.
That is one of those signs at every goddamn pay-per-view now. Those signs
but
nothing.
True, but it's in the guy's hometown. It's a hardcore wrestling city.
Punk in Chicago is bigger than Flair in North Carolina. Let's be real.
Yeah, if it would have been like a situation where... Honestly, I just would have had a situation where somebody dressed up as Punk comes out and, Paul Heyman says, "Hey, it's CM Punk, go wrestle him," kind of like screw around with the fans and then have CM Punk come out and like demolish Jericho or Heyman or whoever with a chair or something. I would have had him just appear and not wrestle, but if he was going to wrestle, you knew he was going to win. And I'm okay with him wrestling Jericho because I figured there wasn't going to be anything after this because Jericho's going to be on tour soon. He's got his Fozzy band that's got dates for the summer. So I knew that if they were going to have something happen between them, it was just going to be a one-and-done thing, and he was going to transfer to something bigger. I think that's why they had Jericho, because with a guy like Jericho, you can beat him to a pulp, and he's Teflon. It won't hurt him.
Isn't that kind of pointless?
I thought the match was very good. I thought what?
Isn't that kind of pointless to Jericho comes out and says, "I want a match with CM Punk," and he beats him, and then now who the hell was Jericho beating on Raw?
Slater?
Was it Slater? I thought it
Yeah.
was. Yeah,
It was
like
The next night he beat
random
Slater
fucking
on the ground.
match against Slater, and it's like, and now
Why
he's going
haven't
to
they
be
done
in the Money in the
why
Bank
haven't they done the
probably.
4MB thing? I mean, Jericho's an actual rock star. I'm still really want to see him have some sort of back and forth with 3MB where they try to recruit him because he's an actual singer. Why haven't they done that yet?
I thought they did that on Monday.
No,
They
they
made
didn't
a
try to
joke about
recruit
it.
him.
And they did in the commercial break. They mentioned it on the commercial.
Yeah, they wanted to like open for him or something.
And
Yeah, some kind of-
I did not see what they did on the commercial break.
They had him do it on the commercial break.
Well,
and he
obviously
said
you
they
have
were
not
bad.
gone to the App Store and downloaded the WWE app.
I still
Go ahead.
have that app.
Plug that app.
And you can get the WWE app for all iOS and Android services by going to your provided app service and downloading it here on,
Yeah, because 3 hours is clearly not enough. Because 3 hours is clearly not enough time for all this extra stuff. We got to have an app and do something different.
Different
No,
conversation.
you know what? I'm not going to get the WWE app. I'm going to buy the WCW app.
Yeah, or the Bon Jovi app. Anyway, I thought the match was very good. It's not it certainly isn't the best they've ever had. That's for sure. Extreme Rules and WrestleMania 28, I think, blow it out of the water in terms of matches they've actually had. I would probably rank it the lowest they've had on pay-per-view anyway. But I didn't see anything overly wrong with it. It kept my interest. It was a comeback match.
It was the worst Punk match out there. It was the worst Punk match on a pay-per-view that I've seen since he captured the WWE Championship. And, he's worked injured before. Payton's right. He wasn't in ring shape. It would have meant a lot more if Punk had lost than if he had won. They just did it to, give the people of Chicago something, add a bit more meaning to the pay-per-view. He was breathing heavily in the ring. Every move he tried to do, he just sounded like he was going to freaking throw up after he did it. Jericho as well. I don't know what the hell happened. It's like these guys they weren't familiar with each other or something. They've known each other. They've
Considering that they have pretty good chemistry too. So,
but it didn't show in this match. Show at all. It really looked bad, and what they should have done, as what Payton said, they should have had Punk come out, cut a promo or something, or had some sort of swerve so they could initiate a little feud, like a mini feud between Punk and Heyman, or do something to basically get Punk back in the ring on a later date in ring shape, because putting him in the ring like that, it really brought down the quality of a match that could have been a show stealer.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? This was like, I actually don't remember if Peyton mentioned this too when you were saying earlier, but about all the finishers. Did you say something about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. Best.
It kind of, I have on the review here, what is this, a TNA match? Because it was just, he hits a code breaker, but then he kicks out. Oh, he hits a code breaker again, but then he kicks out. But then he puts him in the Anaconda Vice, and he gets out of it. And that's the typical TNA crap where you have to have 50 finishers.
Who likes finisher back and forths?
I like it
not done by
sparingly.
TNA.
I like it sparingly.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was that badly overdone here. I mean, I've seen far worse.
I think the worst thing you could do with a finisher thing is where you have that moment where both guys do their finishers, but they both no-sell it. I think Randy Orton did it with Triple H at WrestleMania 25.
Oh God.
I remember. I think Joe and Angle did it at one point in one of their matches. I think it was for their lockdown
Joe
matches.
and Angle always do it. Angle does it with everybody. Him and AJ did it as well, and it's just it's one of those things that's been really overused and really overdone. And for me, hitting your finishes every 5 minutes, that just says, okay, I'm not ready to be in the ring, so I'm just going to do this and do that to make it look like I'm badass.
That must be a mark. I think it adds drama when done correctly.
Yeah, when done correctly.
It does. Like, if you look at Michael's Undertaker 2, that was a lot of, finisher, kick out, but this was not Michael's Undertaker 2. This was more along the lines of Rock Cena 2.
Right.
I thought the match was very good. Punk did look tired to me, but my interest was kept through the entire match. I never felt like it was boring.
I mean, he's missed time like that before, and he hasn't necessarily been kind of sluggish or anything like that. Like, remember, I think it was 2010 when he had like the brief elbow surgery or hip surgery or anything like that, and he only had about 2 months off.
Yeah, but I think he was more driven to stay in shape. He probably went to the gym all the time. I have a feeling the time he's been away, you've seen him at a lot of events, doing a lot of fun things and eating a lot of ice
probably
cream.
hasn't been keeping up cardio or whatever the hell he should be doing, and obviously that had its effect.
I honestly think this was a last-minute ask by WWE.
Yeah,
I think they were just kind of like, listen, we couldn't do Brock versus Brock for SummerSlam. That's what we wanted to do, and we can't do it. Can you come back early? We'll put you in the ring with Jericho. You don't have to try that hard. It's in your hometown. You're gonna get over regardless. And then we'll have Brock Lesnar beat you up, and then you can take a few more weeks off. We just need you to come in so we can, get a spark going.
He didn't really beat him up. He just F5'd him.
That's completely.
He should be back next week, realistically.
He could, but I could see them drawing that out. Being like, Brock Lesnar saying, I beat up that skinny guy, and he's never gonna come back, and then he.
Punk needs a hip replacement surgery. So
he needs like 5 hip replacement surgeries and.
Payden, what was it you were gonna say?
Oh no, I was just saying what Miguel said was completely logical. That would make a lot of sense if that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't think as tired as he was.
SummerSlam.
I think for as tired as he was, he did a good job of getting through the match though and making it interesting. Like, I mean, a few people obviously disagree. A lot of people said very positive things about the match, that it was possibly the second best match this year, period, after Punk and Taker. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's over. You know what? That is over an over-assumption that I've ever heard one. That match was nowhere near
best match this year for me that Punk's had was against Cena on Raw. That's my tentative choice for match of the year. That's him at his absolute best. And he was sick that day.
If Punk versus Jericho was the best match of this year, then Caitlyn and AJ should be above that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
It was in my opinion.
Mine too.
Lower expectations because it was a Divas match, and that's why you're so blown away by it. I think in a few years, you're going to rewatch that match, and you're going to be like, this wasn't exactly a technical masterpiece. Like, it was good, Caitlyn and AJ was, but you're blowing it away as it's like Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, because it was good compared to any Alicia Fox match.
Yeah, if you thought Caitlyn and AJ was good, I wonder what you'll think about Mickie James versus Velvet Sky.
Listen, I'm saying that it was better than Punk and Jericho. I'm not putting it up on the level of some super great match. And I agree with you. I think the Caitlyn and AJ match, I wasn't saying it much before, but I think that match is very overrated. I thought it was good, and I think it's just the fact that we're in a day where there's so much crap that good is just sticking out like this shining diamond. Mm-hmm. But as far as this on this night, Punk and Jericho's towards the bottom of the list, and I would put AJ and Caitlyn on top of that.
I think people have higher expectations because it's Punk and Jericho, and if they don't give you the greatest of all time classic, then it's a disappointment. If they give you a solid good match, is a good match, and you have higher expectations because of the two people in it. So if it's not a 10, if you get a 9 instead of a 10, you're upset.
I thought it was good for what it was, but it certainly wasn't. It wasn't anywhere near their best. Clearly. I think people were expecting it to top like WrestleMania or Extreme Rules or something like that. I don't think it's
fair. He has been out for all this time to expect that out of him. I think the crowd alone made the match very enjoyable.
All this time, he was gone for 2 months.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, it's very bizarre to me because
Christian was gone for like a year. He looked good.
Yeah, Christian was actually in top form in his match on Raw.
Christian was working out. Punk was watching baseball. Come on, it's a different.
Yeah, WWE ice cream bars.
What you look at.
It's not our fault.
You can't sit there and expect a guy to come back. He's not in ring shape to go in that ring. I've said this about The Rock as well, and people like say, "You're just saying that because it's The Rock." You go in the ring. You're not in ring shape. You're not going to put on a great match. You're going to put on a subpar match, and this is what it was. It was a subpar match. Was it like shit? No. Was it bad? Not that much. Was it subpar? Was it like borderline below good? Yes. This match wasn't as great as it should have been. The guys seemed more confused. They didn't think about what they wanted to do like beforehand. That's the way it looked to me. And the quality went down because of that, and also because of the fact Punk wasn't in the shape that he should have been to wrestle this match. And it showed. Yeah, the crowd were behind it, but I'm sorry, if you threw a freaking ball in the ring and had Paul Heyman manage it, the crowd would be behind that too. You know,
it wasn't the best match, but it was.
Is that from Chicago though?
Yeah, if it was a Chicago ball, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If you had like a CM Punk T-shirt on a chair wrestling Jericho, people would start chanting CM Punk. The fact is, it wasn't that great of a match, and People are
I'm not saying it
overemphasizing.
was great.
I don't think you can call it bad at all. I don't
I
think
don't think
you
you
can
can
watch
call
that
it
match
bad.
10 times and
I
you'll
didn't
never
call it
really
bad.
like it.
I didn't call it
I
bad.
have
said it was
Jester's exact
subpar.
opinion on this match. I wasn't expecting an all-time classic, and we didn't get that.
It was a good match.
It was just good.
All right, well, some good debate there. We're gonna move on. Tag team championship in the next part, and then finally the WWE championship.